Just after 4:30 Eastern here on Tuesday, November 5th, the trade deadline has come and went, and the Ravens made a move. But honestly, when you take a look at this thing from 1,000 feet up, and given what the Ravens' defensive needs are, it's really hard to sit here and say to yourself that you're content with what the Ravens just did front office wise. And we're going to get into that and a whole lot more coming up in this special instant reaction episode now that, again, the 2024 NFL trade deadline has passed. Welcome inside the channel. I'm bobtrosset. And as always, this is where I bring you Baltimore sports and beyond. It was Diontae Johnson last week in the first leg of trade deadline buzz and activity. And this week, just as of within the last hour or so, it's Tre'Davious White, a Rams cornerback who you probably remember from his time in Buffalo more so than anything else. The Rams sent Tre'Davious, who is 29, and a 2027 seventh rounder to the Ravens for a 2026 seventh round pick. Okay, so between Diontae and Tre'Davious, in terms of draft compensation, in terms of the money, in terms of the risk, sure, this is essentially free, both players. And there's not a lot of risk that comes with it. But as Dan Orlovsky literally just hit on, which I think speaks for so many of us that cover this team, and I'm sure many of you in the fan base, it's not what was priority number one in Baltimore. Here's the moment news broke on NFL Live.
Has breaking news. Go ahead, Adam.
Oh, we have Tre'Davious White, the Rams cornerback, being traded to the Baltimore Ravens. It'll be Tre'Davious White and a 2027 seventh-round pick going to Baltimore for a 2026 seventh-round pick. So that tells you that Baltimore wanted to get him in, didn't have to give up much compensation. The Rams were happy to move on, and they get back a former Pro Bowl cornerback basically for free.
Yeah. Nice move. Are they trading for a pass rusher? That's all I care about with Baltimore right now. Are they in the conversation for pass rushers or pass rusher or at all?
Not right now. We got.
That's their issue.
39 minutes left.
Listen, coverage is fine, but they got to get to the quarterback way more than they have.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lou.
Look, Tre'Davious is one of those dudes. Think about where he was trained, okay? He was trained up in Buffalo by Sean McDermott. He's very, very adept at split safety quarters, half field coverages. He's a guy who can play a lot of two-man because he's real smart. Tre'Davious is one of the smartest corners in the NFL. He just got bit by the injury bug. Yeah. Tre'Davious wasn't the fastest guy when he came into the league. Then he has a major injury. So now you have to protect him a little bit. He isn't that island corner anymore. But I hate to use this word, but this is really like a testament to him. He's a great system fit in Baltimore, and he's a culture fit in Baltimore. How many times has John Harbaugh talked about, look, the most important thing that we have down here is culture? This isn't just about fantasy football, like as far as like moving guys around here. Right. I think in Baltimore, it's important you're the right person to come there in particular, especially how like all the strong personalities in that locker room. Trey White is one of the most professional dudes in the NFL, period. He's one of my favorite people. Wow. And I think it's a great move for them.
And that from Louis Riddick. And you know what? That might be the case. He might be a consummate professional. He might be somebody that could be a good fit. But the bottom line is, okay, here are the facts. This is a guy who is 13 months removed from an Achilles tear. On top of that, he tore his ACL in November of 2021. And he requested to be traded from the Rams, and it was a brutal first 4 games back from him. Now, there is a report out there from a Rams reporter, Jordan Rodriguez, her name is, who essentially shared that there was some regret within the Rams front office about having to play him so soon after that tear because of a lack of depth in Los Angeles. But the numbers speak for themselves, guys, and it's not pretty. These are not pretty numbers. 133 coverage snaps through 4 games. Again, he's been a healthy scratch the last month in Los Angeles after being, after requesting a trade and after poor performance. 133 coverage snaps. He was targeted 13 times, okay? He gave up 9 catches on those 13 targets for 151 yards and 4 touchdowns. He had 2 PBUs, no picks, 2 run stops, no missed tackles. These are the PFF grades that I'm looking at right now on his screen. 133 coverage snaps, targeted 13 times, 9 catches for 151 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Look, it's the same thing as Deontay Johnson. It's low risk, probably medium to a high level reward, but it doesn't address the biggest void that needed to be filled, and that is pass rusher. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that in recent weeks, and really more often than not this year, what has reared its ugly head? Fourth quarter collapses, a lack of pressure, a lack of consistent pressure, and as a result, quarterbacks like Bo Nix, Jameis Winston, and Baker Mayfield getting the luxury of hanging out in the pocket, surveying the field, and throwing the football on time with comfort. The Ravens need help in the pass rushing department, and there's nobody that's coming to save them besides themselves. If you look at the NFL team win rate rankings, the Ravens are 22nd league-wide in terms of pass rush win rate. 37% pass rush win rate. Try and say that 10 times fast. Pass rush win rate. 22nd league-wide at 37%. The need is so obvious and so clear that while it's hard to knock Eric and the front office for going after 2 players that will help their team for basically nothing, you can't knock them for that. It's not what they did accomplish. It's what they weren't able to accomplish. It's what they didn't do. And that was add their pass rush department. Kyle Van Noy had a stellar start to the year. He's since dropped down outside the top 5 sack category that he was in for the first month of the season. He's getting chipped. He's getting double teamed and hasn't had a response for it. Odafe Owe, he's got a motor. Obviously, he's an athlete, but he's been inconsistent, especially when it comes to finishing and getting to the quarterback. David Ojabo has been a healthy scratch for 2 straight weeks. There's nobody that's coming to save this defense the way that Roquan Smith did a couple years ago. And the concern here moving forward is now the Ravens find themselves in a position, offensively speaking, where there is going to be, especially when the elite of the elites start to match up with this team come January, when the elite of the elites come to town or the Ravens go to their town, and you're forced to hang 40-plus points consistently, that is a thin margin for error to live within. And I don't think that we should expect the Ravens offense to consistently do that week in and week out. There's a lot that has to go right. And Lamar's playing out of his freaking mind. And maybe, just maybe, they'll get away with it. And maybe, just maybe, somebody will step up. But we've seen, whether it's an in-division game against Cleveland 2 weeks ago, whether it was week 2 in the home opener against the Vegas Raiders, there will be times that the Ravens offense sputters, that the Ravens offense has a pedestrian-like afternoon and outing and doesn't put up 30 points. And when that happens, you need your defense to follow suit. You need your defense to win you ball games. And that unit has not proven that it is capable of consistently doing that this year. It did it in Buffalo against Buffalo at home on primetime. It certainly played that way this past weekend against the Denver team that missed a bunch of opportunities. And still, the Ravens defense gave up over 300 yards. And so I find myself certainly not wanting to come across as negative Nancy today. But what about realistic Randy? And realistic Randy tells me that the Ravens missed the mark today. I want to get your thoughts on it. The guest lines are open. You can click on the link that I have included as a pinned comment in the live chat. Some super chats are flying in. Massey says, what's the thought here, Bobby? That offense putting historic numbers good enough to carry the team to a Super Bowl, or that defense probably will be fixed. I mean, that's kind of what I was just getting at here. I think you're putting so much pressure on your offense by essentially standing pat throughout the trade deadline. And again, we're not acting like they didn't bring in two good players. Tre'Davious certainly hasn't been any good this year, but you never know. He could be rejuvenated in Baltimore and play a key role for them, or at least a rotational corner type role who brings a ton of experience, can play quarters well, like Louis Riddick said. Has a, guy's a winner. Played a lot of football. Was groomed by Sean McDermott in Buffalo. And who knows? Deontay Johnson, God forbid, knock on wood, there's an injury in the wide receiver department. They're no longer thinner than thin with Deontay in the building, and he's a man coverage beater, somebody that can play in the slot well for you, understands AFC North football, yada, yada, yada. So again, it's not to ignore what they have done. I'm just saying, to get to where you want to go, you need a defense that is at least average, statistically speaking. And they're nowhere near that. They are a top 5 sack defense, but they don't consistently get home. And obviously, there's only a couple guys that are getting home. And since Kyle Van Noy has been strategized against with double teaming and chipping, he's fallen off a little bit. He's been quiet in recent weeks. How much can an ascending player like Tavius Robinson come on to change things around? Justin Madubuike is getting doubled all the time as well. No, Jadeveon Clowney's not walking through the door. Calais Campbell to potentially shore up the interior defensive line. There were rumors about that. He's not walking through the door right now. That's what Moss is asking right now. Why not Clowney? Why not Smith? We'll get to what other teams chose to do throughout the last 24 hours or so. Detroit cashed in replacement of Aiden Hutchinson, who went down with that injury a few weeks ago. Zadarius Smith is heading to the Lions. Would Zadarius have been traded to Baltimore in division by Cleveland? Probably not. But again, would you be willing to sacrifice your typical standard procedure when it comes to team building, being that you are all in right now? I perceive the Ravens as being all in. Don't you? And if you are all in, this isn't what it looks like. You didn't address the single-handedly biggest, most pressing need on your entire roster. Hope I'm wrong, but doesn't feel like that whatsoever. Eric Wiggins, Emos, Masi, thank you guys for the super chat donations. RC will get to you in just a second. Asmodeus says, what's the point of a cornerback if you have to cover 6 to 7 seconds? Exactly. You're putting these you're putting the corners, you're putting the secondary in no man's land, and that's part of the reason why this team is where it is right now. Over 1,300 of you joining me concurrently right now. The trade deadline is no longer. 4 p.m. Eastern has passed. It is now 4:44. And the Ravens added 2 players, one of which came in last week in Deontay Johnson, and now a corner and a former AFC opponent, a former Buffalo Bill who spent just a few months with the Rams. That's Tre'Davious White, a 29-year-old cornerback who's now going to join the Ravens for peanuts, just as Deontay did. But again, it's not a needle-moving acquisition. Before we get to the guest lines, tonight's episode is brought to you by my friends at Primary Residential Mortgage, and you guys know the drill by now. The rates have dropped. And if you're looking to get in the home buying process, a great place to start is Primary Residential Mortgage. And as a proud supporter of my channel, they are willing to cover your closing costs up to $750 for applications that are submitted by February 9th of 2025. It's a super easy and simple process. If you'd like to apply, you can click on the link that I have included in the show notes. There's also a link as a pinned comment in the live chat. Again, applications that are submitted by February 9th of 2025. You can take advantage of this special offer, apply through the PRMI Mid-Atlantic website, mention my name throughout your process, and go save big. I appreciate Primary Residential Mortgage for making this offer eligible and available to you, the Bobby Baltimore subscriber, and I hope you guys will take advantage of it should you be interested. To the guest lines we go. Let's open them up and get your reactions. RC, Keontae, we'll get to the rest of you guys in just a bit. But like the video on your way in if you're enjoying the show. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell if you haven't already done so. We're talking Tre'Davious White and the Ravens trade deadline as a whole from a front office perspective. RC, your instant reaction is what? Welcome to the channel, brother.
What's going on, man? So I have probably a non unpopular opinion on this. I think this was a solid move, though I do agree that we need help in the pass rush area. Our pass rush has gone down significantly from the start of the season, as you mentioned, with Van Noy being doubled and Matabike also having to deal with the same things. But I feel like that is more of a schematic thing. I feel as though depth was our biggest issue. And I came on the show last week and I said, well, a pass rusher will be nice. But I feel as though our depth in the secondary is really the undercover Achilles heel of this defense, apart from the schematic issues, which appear to have been addressed in this past week. I mean, obviously, time will tell as it pertains to that. But I want to point out quickly that in the Browns game where we had Marlon Humphrey down, where we had Nate Wiggins down, it exposed an area where we had two young, inexperienced. Well, really, we only had Brandon Stevens at that point, and everybody else was a backup, and there wasn't a lot of depth there. You notice, and also will mention the fact that Marcus Williams was benched. So if any one of those players goes down with an injury, who would be the backup in that scenario? Especially, as you said, Bobby, we're going to be going up against some of the better offenses in the league come January. So, though I feel like it's not a flashy move, obviously you look at the Steelers going out to get Mike Williams, that hurts. You see Tre'Davious going to Detroit. I think where the Ravens will benefit the most is in our depth, because God forbid we haven't had a serious injury to any one of our major starters yet. But if that were to happen, I think we'll feel a little bit better, especially in the secondary, having Tre'Davious White.
Yeah, no, RC, I think you hit on a bunch of different things there. Neither one of these moves, last week with Deontay, today with Tre'Davious, are flashy. They are depth pieces. They are, again, the low risk, medium to high level reward types of acquisitions that the Ravens felt comfortable enough doing. You know that they aren't going to overpay. They rarely overpay, especially when it comes to draft compensation. Whether it's around the trade deadline and free agency, you name it. And so this is one of those situations where they probably had opportunities at some of these pass rushers, some of these edge rushers that went off the market, but perhaps they dug in, right, and were stubborn, or maybe you can call it, committal to their, I would say they had a commitment to their draft philosophies, their compensation philosophies, their team building philosophies, and that's where I sort of have a problem, because we've seen we have a 9-game sample size of what's been their Achilles heel and what could potentially get in their way to where they want to go in January and ultimately February. And the fact that they weren't willing to deviate away from some of those philosophies, to me, that's where the mark is missed. It doesn't take away from what you just said. It doesn't take away from what happened last week. But big picture, I think I would not be surprised if 2+ months from right now, we reconvene and we look at the season as a whole and we say to ourselves, that was a missed opportunity right there. I hope that's not the case. That's my big takeaway coming off the deadline.
Well, I will say, and I know you got to go, but I will say that if that is, I will come back on here and I will admit that.
Hey, a lot of great points, RC. Appreciate the call, brother.
Man.
Let's keep it going. Keontae's on deck. Manuel, Antonio, everybody's in the building. Over 1,300 of you guys with me. The deadline is no longer 4:50 Eastern right now. We're instantly reacting to Tre'Davious White and, of course, just assessing, evaluating Eric DeCosta and this front office's trade deadline from 1,000 feet up. Keontae, what are your thoughts on it, my friend?
Hey, man, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Honestly, man, when I first looked at it, I was kind of disappointed. But then I think it kind of speaks to how much we trust the guys that we already have, right? Matabike, Owe, even Ojabo being the healthy scratch that he has been, I think they've showed us enough with the offensive line that we can trust what EDC is doing. Now, the reason I was mad about Tre'Davious White was just because I feel like that could have been the guy that we could have got in free agency. I feel like in free agency, he could have been something that we acquired. But now, me being optimistic, knowing what happened with Marcus Williams, I'm kind of looking at it as maybe we can get that guy into a safety position, and if we are still having those problems with Marcus Williams, that can kind of be the guy that we fill in. Tre'Davious is a super, super smart corner. That's something that he was like kind of praised on, coming into the draft. So, I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic, but I kind of want to get Matabike a lot of help down there because I just feel like that's the reason that he's been so missed, in the games that we have had. He doesn't have a Jadeveon Clowney, although he does have a Vinoy. He just doesn't have that guy to garner any attention off of him. So, I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic, but yeah,
I appreciate that opportunity to, the effort that you're putting in. I mean, Matabike is being treated as a star, and he's been taken out of some games. They're lining up. They're throwing the kitchen sink at the guy. And I'm just seeing a tweet that just came down here from Diana Rossini about Azeez Ojulari just within the last hour or so, who there was a lot of interest surrounding. But Diana's saying that Joe Shane, their GM's, his asking price was high given New York's banged up front. So the depth was issues there. And ultimately teams chose not to pay it. So, look, that I would not be surprised if the Ravens are one of those teams that were calling Joe in New York. And they ultimately said, look, we're not willing to meet that asking price. Like, we have certain reaches that we're willing to do. That's not one of them. And in a sense, based on Eric's track record, to your point, you do have to entrust him a little bit. There does have to be a little bit of a trust within this fan base. With that said, there's a little give and take as well, being that you're in this all-in era, this all-in phase, and this is not all in. Deontay Johnson and Tre'Davious White, respectfully, are not all-in acquisitions that you make when you have a reeling defense going in. And, of course, coming up with Cincinnati. How many Cincinnati going to hang on him this time? Jamar went for $193 just a few weeks ago. Do they have any answers for him in-house? I'm left wondering.
I think Nate Wiggins can do a little bit better this time. I seen Jamar Chase once. Seeing him again, I think he can hold. I'm not gonna say he's gonna hold his own completely, but I think he can help mitigate that 193 number. But I just look at it also as if we did add a defensive lineman, like you say, at what cost? I mean, we were already kind of pinched at the cap, towards the beginning of the season, and we don't know how pinched we are right now, but like, if we did add that D lineman, who's to say that just wouldn't, get us even closer to, being even more pinched. I would have liked to see Chase Young. That was probably the guy that I wanted, or Cam Hayward. But I don't know, man. I think I like this Tre'Davious White trade. But we'll just have to see. We'll have to see this Thursday or next Sunday, the Sunday after. So.
Thanks for the call, Keontae. Appreciate it, man. Guest lines are open, guys. We've got over 1,400 of you joining me concurrently right now to talk about the Ravens trade deadline, to talk about Tre'Davious White, to talk about a number of things that's taking place right now. And remember, he's just 13 months removed, Tre'Davious is, from a torn Achilles. Then in November 2021, he tore his ACL. He is just 29 years old, but the numbers speak for themselves in terms of this year. 133 coverage snaps logged thus far in 4 games for the Rams. He's been a healthy scratch the last month. He was targeted 13 times of those 133 coverage snaps. He gave up 9 catches on those 13 targets for 151 yards and 4 touchdowns. If he's going to be impactful for the Ravens, he's going to need to experience some rejuvenation upon his arrival in Baltimore. Here is the injury history that I just referenced. 13 months removed from a right Achilles tear, week 4 last year against the Dolphins. He would go on to miss the remainder of the 2023 season. And then again, November of 2021, a grade 3 ACL tear on Thanksgiving. Sort of a decorated in the worst of ways injury history. And you hope that, like what the Rams were getting at with the reports that I've read, is that they didn't want to rush him back this year. But because of depth issues, they did. And he logged a lot of snaps early. And maybe as a result, there was a correlation between him returning to the football field prematurely, not being 100%, and certainly the numbers would reflect that. Back to the guest lines we go. I want to get your thoughts on this move. Let's go, Antonio, and get the thoughts on Tre'Davious White and overall what's going on right now with this Ravens NFL trade deadline. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Bobby, man? How you doing, man?
I'm great. Thanks for calling in.
Man, it's my pleasure, man. I love the show, man. I love everything you and Sarah doing, man. I always keep up with y'all, during the morning. So I definitely want to give y'all a shout out, man. But, getting to the trade, man, I'm excited that they made a move, but I was disappointed there was no pass rusher, man. We see it week in and week out. It's like, come on. I mean, we didn't play rookie quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks, and it's the same thing every week. And so, it has to be something that's going on behind closed doors that we don't know about. That EDC, of course, he's not telling us, but it has to be like a money issue, because there's no way, man, we don't make any kind of pass rush move, and we've been terrible, at pass rush. So
take a look at the pass rush win rate. Not to cut you off, but take a look at the pass. Bobby. Take a look at this: 37%, 22nd league wide in terms of pass rush win rate. They're top 5 in sacks, but I think that's an inflated number because of Kyle Van Noy's emergence right out of the gate, and he's been really quiet these last several weeks. So the numbers never lie. They also don't always tell the entire story. But all I know is the story over the last month has been quarterbacks chilling in the pocket, chilling early and chilling often.
Chilling hard, man. It's tough, man. Like I said, I'm glad. I was excited to see that we did make a move, but come on, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, Bobby. So, I don't know what we're gonna do from here. We got Philly coming up. We playing we got the Steelers coming up. So I don't know, man. But all I'm gonna say is I think that we're gonna have to blitz the corners more or the safeties more. We're gonna have to, because the D line in the pass rushes that we have they not doing the job. So we gotta stir some kind of blitzes up coming from the secondary in order for us to get this pressure, man. Because it's been 9 weeks. I mean,
that's the only time they get production. When you send Kyle, when you send Mollett here and there, when you send Ardarius, that's the only time they're getting the quarterback. Few and far between elsewhere. I get it. Trenton Simpson had a garbage time sack the other day, but they're just not getting home up front without tinkering with things, without sending different packages and whatnot. And that is not the type of place that you want to be in, especially going up against Burrow. If you blitz Burrow, good luck.
Oh, my goodness, man. With the weapons that he has.
And do not blitz Burrow. It's a death sentence if you blitz Joe Burrow too much. If you show him too much, good night.
Eat you up.
Good night.
And we're going into the second half of the season, Bobby, and this is the most important time, most crucial time. Look, we already done dropped 2 games that we should have had. And, the schedule's not getting any easier. So, with that being said, man, I just hope they come up with a main game plan, man, for the defense, man. We played good Sunday, but I'm not sold yet, Bobby.
I appreciate the call, Antonio. Thanks, dude.
All right, man. Thank you, man.
It's awesome to see some new names and faces too. So I want to make sure that I get as many of you in here as well, meaning the OGs like Manuel and Dre. I'll get to you as soon as I can, but I like the new names and faces too in here. The guest lines are open. I'm glad you guys can be with me. We're assessing this trade deadline now that it is come and went. Of course, Eric DeCosta doesn't stand pat today, but also it's underwhelming. Tre'Davious White, as just announced 49 seconds ago by the Ravens team account on social media, is your newest Baltimore Raven. It's very, very, very low risk in terms of overall compensation, but at the same time, I just don't know how much this actually moves the needle. Sure, he's got a 17.2% career forced incompletion rate, and that's the fourth highest among corners during that time period. But what have you done for me lately? And I got the answer for you. Not a whole lot, okay? 4 games. He's been a healthy scratch the last month, by the way, after requesting a trade. And these numbers, the first 4 games, 13 times he was targeted of 133 coverage snaps. He gave up 9 catches for 151 yards and 4 touchdowns. Okay. That's not going to cut it. The Rams are sending him in a 2027, just in case you're just tuning in. The Rams are sending Tre'Davious and a 2027 7th rounder to the Ravens for a 2026 7th rounder. So between this and Deontay, again, it's very cheap. It's essentially free. But does it get the Ravens to where they want to be? I'll ask you guys. Taz, does this get the Ravens where they want to be, brother? Good to see you.
Oh, I couldn't wait. Bobby, man, how you been, man? It's been since last year since I got a chance to talk to you, me and all the kids. So look, I don't want to hog up too much time. I got a lot that I want to run through real quick. So I want everybody just, have an open mind and listen to what I'm saying. The first thing, the trade. Tre'Davious is nothing but a plus. This is what I mean, and this is why. One, just like we've done in the past before with cornerbacks like is it Ronald Darby, I believe, that came and made some, and he was impactful. I don't believe we're getting Tre'Davious to come and say, hey, now you're the number one. We need you to lock down one whole side of the field. We ain't get him for Dion to be Tre'Davious White. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He has experience of playing at the highest level. Having more players that have that type of experience does nothing but make your team better, and the younger players like Nate Wiggins, younger than him, that's just coming into the league trying to make a name for themselves. It's going to help make them better. It's going to help them know where to be and how to view it from a different, from different eyes, from somebody who's played at a high level already. That's one point. So it's really not a negative. Now, it was absolutely, and we're going to be real, y'all, there was nobody, and we know the Ravens, if you talking anything 2nd round pick, 1st round pick, we're not letting them go. That's just in our history. So we know that common sense, I think maybe if they was giving away TJ Watt, that might be somebody that we might think about it, but that's not happening. So any pass rusher that was available that would, how can I say, help get us over the hump, there was none available. We wasn't getting Mad Max. He cost too much, right? And honestly, Tre'Davious Smith, he would have been cool. However, we wasn't getting him because no division rival is not going to help us own the division. So we could chalk that up. So now you really have no big name left. Now, I would have liked Calais. Calais, that's my guy. I would have loved to have him back. But you got to think about the other side. Because if the other side isn't willing to do something that's reasonable, then what can we do? Because I'm pretty sure EDC made some calls, probably down to Miami. You feel what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure he'd been buzzing around, and there was really nothing left. Now, this is what I want everybody to realize of why, which you stated earlier, the numbers don't tell the whole story. But let me tell you why. Don't sleep on our pass rush. Reason why Kyle Van Noy could get off to such a major start, and why it seemed like the first couple games, we had a nice pass rush, right? And we out, the fourth quarter is where we needed our most work. But then our pass rush seemed like it's disappearing a little bit because the horses in the middle are down. You got to understand, the worst thing that you can do for any quarterback is to let pressure come up the middle. Have big guys that can move that pocket into his lap. Our big guys that was doing that, mainly Travis Jones, has been hurt. Broderick Washington, he been banged up. Now we got Michael Pierce banged up. That's 3 big dogs in the middle with Matabike leading the way. So as you said, Matabike is getting double and triple team. So when he's getting double and triple team and our other big dogs is hurt and banged up, and they were the ones like Travis Jones that was pushing that pocket. So guess what? The outside guys got to work harder. Now you can slide a running back and help chip block. You feel what I'm saying? To help keep the outside guys at bay, to give your quarterback a cleaner pocket to be able to operate. Everybody crying about the pass rush and our secondary. Our guys got to cover so long and they're getting burnt because the part of our pass rush that was most effective, it wasn't the outside. Use your eyes, people. It was up the middle. Travis Jones, Matabike, Roderick Washington, Michael Pierce, also great run stoppers. They would get pressure up the middle. If only one guy is healthy enough to do that, come on now. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. So those are the things that I wanted to put out there about that. And lastly, before I wrap it up, I wanted to, tell people to look at the offensive side of the ball, right? Mark Andrews got hurt last year. He just literally 3-4 weeks ago started to look like Mark Andrews, And of course, I had faith. I would never call my guy, washed or he ain't got it no more. I knew what it was. He needed more time to fully get his legs up underneath of him. Tre'Davious White, as you said, was rushed back. A 2-time Pro Bowler was rushed back after back-to-back injuries because they had depth issues. I guarantee you, had he been able to rest longer, heal up more, them numbers probably wouldn't look like that. 2-time Pro Bowlers don't come up and just all of a sudden be trash. I mean, that don't happen. I'm sorry. In the NFL, it was hard to even make one Pro Bowl. So I'm telling everybody, calm down, pump your brakes. Let's put our faith in Travis Jones, that big hog in the middle, getting healthy. And hopefully when we get close to the playoffs, Pierce hopefully can come back. But if not, having Travis, Broderick, and Matabike in the middle, that's where our pass rush is going to start soaring again. Mark my word. Y'all heard it here first. All right?
Taz, you got folks in the live chat wondering if you got a channel yourself. You're going off, my friend. Good stuff.
I'm sorry. No, hey, Bobby, all jokes aside, I don't want to kind of put stuff out there on other people's platform, but it's in the making. I got a little something in the making. So when I do get my stuff rolling and launch, man, Bobby, hopefully I can get some support from you, bro.
Taz, you're level-headed, and I like that about you. You're level-headed, and you want to know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about one guy, okay, and he's not a player. I want to see Chuck Smith. I want to see his impact on this team. He's the outside linebackers coach. He's Dr. Rush, right? He's somebody that's highly regarded within the pass rush community.
I'm going to be honest, right? I would not be upset if, Zach O, kind of lean towards him on helping with like some of these disguises. Because I'm watching some things that we're doing, and I noticed certain stuff. Oh, one more thing, Bobby. It was another video I only caught a few minutes of that I heard another fan had said that. No, matter of fact, it wasn't. It was our own governor, right? Our own governor said that he didn't realize how much Patrick Queen really did mean to this defense. And I want to say I second that. If any move that we, had during the offseason that I say really had the most impact on this defense outside of McDonald, leaving, is Patrick Queen. And the reason why, because Trenton Simpson may have the athleticism, the quickness and all, but it's a certain thud. It's a certain you know what? I'm going to get through this block and I'm going to make this tackle that Patrick Queen had. It's a certain dog that was in Patrick Queen that I can honestly say in the middle of the field, we missed. You feel what I'm saying? I think Trenton will get there. He got all of the athleticism and all the intangibles, I believe, to be, what we had last year with Patrick and Roquan. But yeah, man. And I think Zo need to lean towards a little more towards his linebacker coach too, kind of let's figure out a better way to scheme so we can, close up that middle of the field, because the middle of the field is what's killing us the most.
Exactly.
It's open
and
all
I
day.
think that's where you miss PQ. You miss PQ
Yes.
in certain pass rush situations, the way that he would knife through the line, right?
Yes.
With great vision, great closing speed. And you also miss PQ in the sense that it's Roquan's running mate. And I think he allowed Roquan, as much as PQ, right? As much as Roquan allowed PQ to play freely, I think we're now seeing that vice versa is the case as well.
I felt that way. The second that I knew Roquan was coming, I said, let's go over Greenlaw and Fred Warner. The best duo is in Baltimore. And I believe last year, if you really get, I like to go back and watch all of the, other teams' games as much as I can when I have free time and I'm not working. And when I watch Roquan and Patrick, that was the best duo in the league. You know, and if any move I wish we could have made, I would have loved to have kept, you know, PQ. But guys, listen, I ain't gonna hog it up, man. Bobby, I love you and sir. You feel me? And I'm gonna hop on again, you know, soon, because like I smell it. Last year I smelt it. We beat ourselves. This year, with that big number 22, and in my opinion, the best quarterback in the league, regardless of championships. Oh yeah, I smell it, y'all. Just wait. Y'all heard it here first. Just wait.
Taz,
Defense will
great stuff,
improve.
brother. I appreciate the call today, my man.
All right.
Catch up with you soon. My man came prepared today, did Taz. The guest lines are open. Just to finish that thought on Chuck Smith, a.k.a. Dr. Rush, a.k.a. year 2 of being the Ravens outside linebackers coach. I think they need to lean on him right now. He needs to get this room figured out. He needs to give Odafe Owe a full arsenal of confidence when it comes to the technique, when it comes to not just relying on speed and athleticism to get to the quarterback. This is a guy who the Ravens decided to invest in this past offseason from a fifth-year option perspective. They invested in him. And while he is always so close, it's not good enough. And I get it. As a team, the Ravens are a top 5 sack-getting organization so far entering Week 10. But they don't tend to come in actually, they do tend to come in bunches, and they do tend to come from 1 or 2 guys. They need more balance collectively across this front. And one other thing, too, that I thought Taz was wise to point out, the interior part of this defensive line, which is probably why you saw some buzz around Calais Campbell today, the former Raven, who's now in Miami. Okay, with Michael Pierce being unavailable for at least the next month on IR, with Brent Urban remaining in concussion protocol, with Travis Jones hobbling around and really being an emergency case situation last weekend with that ankle. They got more questions than they do answers right now. And that number 1 ranked rushing defense is going to be tested from this point forward. Back to the guest lines we go. Sharif, you've been holding for a minute. Now you're on, brother. Talk to me. What you got going on?
Hey, what's up, Bobby? All my Baltimore fans, how y'all doing?
Good to see you, dude. What do you think of the deadline? What do you think of the Tre'Davious acquisition?
Hey, listen, shoot, man, that last man, he was throwing some darts out there on the trade and everything like that. And I actually wanted to point out too, to piggyback off of him, that I know he ain't that caliber, but think about how Marcus Peters came over at that timeline. He was, kind of feeling like he was unappreciated. Felt like people were thinking like he washed up, lost a step. We just needed somebody to believe in him. And I feel as though like Tre'Davious White has that caliber. He did say some of the things too about how I feel as though like with bringing him over, he's going to be like that depth. Like we just brought over Deontay Johnson for depth at the wide receiver. With that being said, we don't know how this whole second half is going to go on. We've seen Nate Wiggins miss a couple of games so far. Obviously, Humphreys will miss some. Marlon has. So I just feel as though like with the way our secondary is playing, and he is right though, the interior defensive line has been the reason why Van Noy was getting off of the good start and everything like that. But my thing is right now, those fourth quarters, right, when they get really, really tight or just garbage time, whatever it is, our D-backs are just off cue. With bringing him in, I think it could bring the talent level up with our young guys. And we still haven't even seen TJ Tampa come on and play. Like, where is he at? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my goodness. Like, it's been a crazy thing, but I really feel as though that with the addition of White, he can definitely – you got to look at it too, Bobby. Look at this. With White, when he was healthy with the Buffalo Bills, he was there in the playoffs. He has that playoff experience. He has that veteran presence. He has the just the awareness of knowing how to dissect an offense across the board. He may have had losses a step or two. However, you still have Hamilton back there to help him out on whatever side he plays on. I believe with Marlon being in nickel, like give him like he still could play the quarters. Like I was listening to one of the analysts on ESPN when they were doing the live countdown trade deadline. Lewis, yes. He was saying about he played with the certain quarterback or the coach that taught him the corners, like the being on a certain side. That is key. If we going to have a push with our defense being a little strong, because we're all known for being obviously Ravens defense all day, every day. But I really feel as though like this is our year to actually have a strong offense and it actually paves the way. And just having that veteran depth right now at the cornerback, it could definitely put us over the top,
Sharif, thanks for the call, dude. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, sir.
Loving all the new names and faces that are popping in here. Let's go to a few of the OGs. We'll go Gene, Julian, Manuel, Dre. Actually, Julian, I got to get you last. That's chronologically. Gene, talk to me, brother. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Bobby?
Good to see you, dude.
Yeah, this trade deadline and really it puts in perspective, how EDC is just always afraid to get better. I mean, you talk about having 11 picks. Are 11 guys really going to make this roster like in 2025? We have such a talented team. It's not about talent. It's about the star players. Or, the depth is good, especially at D-line. I just think not making those moves to get better, trade a second round pick, like we did Roquan. You saw how it literally turned the entire defense around, each season around, just trading for a star player that makes an impact on the defense. Someone like that, Max Crosby, I know he was never going to get traded, but if he was an option, like multiple first, to be honest, like this is like you see the Chiefs, they get DeAndre Hopkins, they get Josh Uche. They make moves. They're not afraid to get better. This is what we've been missing throughout the entire of EDC's career. It's been staying content with just me in the playoffs. Hey, we're a playoff team. We're going to be in the playoff. Cool, but we've never gotten over the hump under, EDC, and it's just not going to, Tre'Davious White. I like the pickup because he's a high up guy. We know he's been a star player. We know that he's been with the Bills. He's been a top 3 corner when it's time there. I know it was a long time ago, but still, he has high upside. If we could return him to form like Marcus Peters, another Rams corner that we got, and we kind of revived his career, turned him into a all pro. So I like the pickup, but it's just not a star player that's really gonna move the needle. I mean, it's just not gonna move the needle on defense. Maybe I could see him playing safety actually, because he's a bit slower now with the injury, and he has that experience. So I think safety is actually a pretty good move for him, at least playing back there. But we just don't have that pass rush that's really gonna make a difference on this D line, especially see the middle of the field get open a lot, and that's a lot with pass rush because if those linebackers are not blitzing, then the middle of the field is going to be open, or vice versa. If they're blitzing, then there's no one covering the middle of the field. And when we see blitzes coming off the edge, we see a lot of people in the middle of the field get open, and something that KC does a lot is wide open the middle of the field. You see Travis Kelce get always open in the middle of the field. We don't have Roquan has lost a step, quite frankly. He's just too slow. I mean, he can't cover. I think, like that other guy was saying with Patrick Queen was the coverage and Roquan was the bumper. He was going to come in, he was going to tackle. Patrick Queen was going to not lock down, but cover a tight end. And, we're missing that. We're missing the star player, talking about like a star linebacker, because Roquan still is, but we just need a star pass rusher so that the middle of the field can't get open, I think you're showing a stat this Monday that all 4 Bo Nix sacks came from 3 seconds or more of time in the pocket or something like that, where it was not more like a pass rush getting there, just Bo Nix not being a rookie, making rookie mistakes, holding the ball too long. But I just think it's just insane to me how we always almost, we got our guys, we're good with our guys. It's just sometimes our guys are not good enough, like just straight up. Like our guys are not our guys, they're not the guys. They could be our guys, but they're not the guys that are going to help us win that ring,
Gene, thanks for the call, dude.
Yeah, as always.
Appreciate it, man. Some interesting thoughts there. One, when it comes to Roquan, clearly he's struggled in pass, right? Clearly he has been a step behind. He's got to tighten up. One thing that you will always get from Roquan is a unrelenting physicality and a dominance against the run, which we have seen this year. He has a lot on his plate. He has a new running mate. He does look as if he's bulked up a little bit. And I don't know whether or not that's related to the scheme, to the new running mate, to the new personnel, to the issues up front, or just a perfect storm of everything. I don't know whether or not that's related to his weight. I know a lot of you have mentioned that. I certainly have seen the different physique. I've seen some of the issues in the middle of the field, and they cannot continue. With that said, those of you who are ready to kind of write him off, I think if you look at his track record, you look at his resiliency, and you look at hopefully a player who is his running mate that's starting to stack some games here in Trenton Simpson, you just hope that the deficiencies against the pass can be shored up as soon as possible, particularly when it comes against tight ends in the middle of the field and those shifty kind of Rashee Rice type players that torched him on opening night. We all saw that the middle field was certainly open for business. Good stuff there, Gene. Manuel and Julian, let's get you guys involved here. A couple guys dropped off from the live caller list, and I know you guys have been holding for a minute, so give me your instant reaction, my friend. Good to see you.
I think I'm with Taz on this one. I understand the move, but still, I think it's more so. Actually, even though Taz took it, he explained it everything. Once I saw the trade, I was like, do we really don't need a pass rusher that bad? I mean, if we're waiting for Brett Urban, if we're waiting for Michael Pierce and Travis Jones to come back, it's like, okay, let me check real quick what is the issue. And I think the issue is not only schematic with Orr, but it's also the DNA of Peace. If you remember that time, those last 2 years of Dean Peace, his pass rush was non-existent because what he was actually doing is just close the pocket and never letting the QB out. But you need to get to the QB to actually put pressure on him. It's the same mistake that Wink did on his last year. And even on that interview, it's like, oh, pass rush is just a nonsense stat. It's like, nonsense stat? No. Why San Francisco? Why the Rams with Aaron Donald, even without Von Miller? Why they were so effective? Why TJ Watt is so effective? Because they tell those four, go hunt the quarterback. I don't care if he's contained or not, just go hunt him, because that pressure can actually buy time for our corners to cover their guys. That's it. That's all that's need to be done. If you want to blitz a fifth one, that's good, but still, just let them hunt. Don't tell them contain. And I think that's primarily a coaching issue. Yes, we don't have the talent because of the losses, but and what he said of PQ, I don't know if it was too soon to actually put Simpson on, and I think we need Ray back, not as a head coach. It's just a few pointers here and there for Roquan and Trent, because it's not covering. Whoever's substituting or a linebacker coaching, it's just not it.
Let's take a look at what Kyle Van Noy just tweeted out here a short while ago, and maybe we can all decipher this together. At 5:13, just over 10 minutes ago, he wrote, "Folks not watching the games, and it shows. Mob or MOB on Thursday and Saturday night this week." Mob or MOB? Live chat's going to have to help me out with this one. Is that just getting the bank ready to go because it's Thursday night? If that's the case, what does that have to do with Saturday night? The Ravens play the Bengals on Thursday. Why would he also be adding in Saturday night? MOB on Thursday and Saturday night this week. Live chat, what say you? But clearly, if this is about what everybody's discussing, which I would assume he sees online, it would be about his pass rush. He and his outside linebackers, or lack thereof, pass rush. So what do we think?
I don't know. I do
Joel, you
get
got
a
any thoughts on
question
this?
for Julian. Julian, I
Yeah.
got a question for you.
What's up? What's up?
What do you think is holding the defense on playing Ojabo? Because he is about to go, I think, his third week in a row as a healthy scratch.
I don't know. I think it's probably. I mean, he had one game. I think he had a sack. I'm not sure what game it was. I'm not sure what it was, but I don't think they have been impressed with what the production he's given out so far. I'm not sure if that's the case, but I couldn't really tell you why he's been scratched so long. So I don't know if they either done with him completely or they're just saving him. My odds are they're probably done with him, but then I don't want to be wrong and they just play him in a game. But 3 times in a row, looks like they're probably done with him. That's just
I
my
mean,
theory.
my theory with Ojabo is more so like he's there physically, but I
Mm-hmm.
think because of the injury and him being scared of it, I think it affected his mental state during the game. Because
Mm-hmm.
last time he got a sack, he tore his Achilles.
Yep. Yep. He
So it
sure did.
was. So I think that actually might have messed up with his mind, but it shouldn't have. I speak from experience because my last season as a linebacker,
Mm-hmm.
before the preseason, I injured my ligaments on my right knee, and they told me that I might not even play until week 3. But I got, you know, all my exercises, all my recovery, boom, week 1 starter.
Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, guys, but what the hell does MOB stand for?
I don't know. Well, somebody said
All
something
right.
in the chat. Money over what?
Money over bitches. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
great. That sounds
That's what
great
it
to
was.
me.
For real.
You
That's
know,
my only logical explanation. That's what he's talking about. But I doubt that's what the case is. I
oh,
mean,
now wait a
what?
second now. Now, wait a second. Just a bit outside just made a good point here in the live chat. I think he's saying to mob the bank on Thursday Night Football
Oh,
and then BYU, his alma mater, for their
Oh,
game on Saturday. I kind of like that.
okay.
I kind of
that's
like
a
that,
nice
man.
approach. Yeah,
That
that's a
I
makes
nice
kind
a
of
lot
like
of
approach.
that.
sense.
Manuel, I'm
That
going to give Julian his time, brother. All right. Appreciate you, dude.
All right, see ya.
Thank you.
all right,
Thanks for
buddy.
the call. I like that a lot. Just a bit outside, coming right down the plate inside.
Just
Hell yeah.
like that, Bobby. I'm just working on fumes right now. I have been up for a while. I got off work like 11, and then I had to go vote, and then I came back in, stayed up for a while. So I'm like, you
I
know,
was actually pleasantly surprised with my voting experience in Canton today. Like, it was super efficient. I was in and out of there. A
yeah.
bunch of people were trying to hand me like pamphlets and shit on the way in. I'm like, no, I'm getting in and out here.
That's what I said. They was doing the same thing. Hey, you just reversed. I was like, no,
Yep.
yeah, I haven't voted in a while, but no.
Live chat's cracking me up right now. Money over bitches, man of business.
Oh man, OB, I love that. But staying on topic, I caught a little bit with the last guy was talking about. What I think it was Patrick Queen. Um, he's right in a sense of that we miss his like run stopping ability, and but the problem is they was not going to pay him regardless of what was going on. They weren't going to pay him the type of money that Roquan got. Is no matter how bad we wanted to keep him. And Patrick Queen has his flaws. I mean, he hasn't really been playing particularly well in Pittsburgh either. So we would like to have him back, yeah, but I mean, his pass coverage was iffy at best. It's the same way as Roquan is right now. So I I would say the middle of the field has always
Well,
been
not
a
during his
problem.
all-pro year, though.
Well,
Guy was coming
yeah.
off an all-pro year. I mean, all levels, he was
I
firing
mean,
on all cylinders last year.
yeah, he was good last year. But the previous year he was just like hiccups. Like they was asking a little bit too much for him.
See, the
So
thing is,
I guess
PQ covered so much ground,
yeah,
and he had such timing and vision
hmm
when pass rushing.
Right.
when blitzing.
Mm-hmm.
They missed that element.
Yeah.
They have some non-upfront guys,
Mm-hmm.
right, that can get after the passer with good
Mm-hmm.
timing. Like Arthur Mollett before his injury, dynamic.
Blitzing.
Kyle Hamilton always and twice on Sunday, every day of the week, twice on Sunday. Of course, you're going to get that from Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
Darius Washington, he's shown some
He's showing
life there.
flashes. He's showing
Yeah,
flashes.
but like PQ gave you just this unrelenting
Force.
physicality, pressure, sideline to sideline.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Roquan's just I think it's not exposed him. That's a overreaction. But not having PQ playing at the level that he was,
I put him a little
deal,
bit too much.
dealing with the issues up front this year, having
Mm-hmm.
a rookie essentially a rookie in terms of first year starter playing alongside you, wearing the green dot communicator, maybe
Mm-hmm.
coming in a little bit overweight, or maybe that was your plan all along, bulking up.
Right.
All of that has come to be somewhat of a detriment through the first half of the season for Rowe.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's putting on a little bit too much of assignments this year, and he's got a lot of miscommunication issues and led to a lot of things. I mean, Roquan, let's just be honest, the guy's a thumper. He's a tackling machine, and we all knew that.
Yeah.
Pass coverage was not his strong suit, and definitely seeing that. Far as what we did in a trade, it don't surprise me that they went this route because I was just figuring like, all right, the Ravens' philosophy is we as fans want this person, they think another way. We want this guy, they go another route. And they always do this at the last minute. I mean, I wasn't really shocked that they went that route. He's not really, like I said, a lot of people will say he's not really a needle mover. I mean, he's not what he used to be in his Pro Bowl season. He's had a lot of injuries lately. So he's like a depth body at best. I guess they're trying to trust that the guys they had, like Travis, was it Robinson? Travis Robinson, Owe, uh,
Tavius?
Tavius, my bad. I said his name wrong. Tavius
Tavius
Robinson.
is coming off. Yeah, he's coming off probably his career day.
Yeah, I think he has, and from what I'm seeing, he has more of a better pass rush skill set, a little bit more better than Owe from what I'm seeing. Because I seen Owe has flashes here and there, but Tavius just has that little relentless pursuit. I think if he taps all of that in a little bit more, he'll be really great. I think he's oversee Ojabo at this point because I don't know what they're going to do with Ojabo. Like I said, I think they're pretty much done with that guy. If
That
he gets scratched for a third straight game, you're asking questions and you're just knowing that this is a bad investment. And it's nothing against him. I mean, it's not his fault. He had an injury, but at the same time, he did not flash as well as we thought he would. So it's kind of a
Jewel,
blunt. Yeah.
appreciate the call, dude.
No
Get some
problem,
sleep.
problem.
Get some
Anytime,
sleep,
man.
will you?
I'll try. I'll try. I gotta get up in a couple hours anyway. So I'll take a little nap.
All right, man.
All right,
Thanks,
man.
dude.
No
Talk to
problem.
you soon. And yes, for those in the live chat, we will answer Madison related questions in just a bit. Couch Rider, Asmodeus, you guys are on deck. Some super chats. Moneybag says EDC is going to wait till we lose in the AFC chip again to see the problem, just like how we got Henry. Sad story loading. Emas says, I know what we can do. Asmodeus says the Commanders filled their most glaring hole in a big way. The commies looking like the better front office right now. Jonathan Alston, by the way, Marshawn Lattimore is who he's referring to. Jonathan Alston says maybe they would have added a pass rusher if one went down. Asmodeus says, what's the point of a cornerback if you have to cover 6 to 7 seconds? And we're fully caught up on Super Chat donations. To the car we go. Couch Rider, you're in the building. Good to see you, dude. What's going on?
Hey, what's good, man? Hey, I just I wanted to say, like, hey, let's have a little optimism. I mean, I know that people are frustrated about being able to just pick up Tre'Davious White here at the trade deadline. But I mean, how he operates in that Ram defense may be different as to how he operates here in Baltimore. And the thing about Eric DeCosta is he's going to put personnel in place, and we make it work. I know somebody was in the chat just a couple minutes ago saying AFC Championship. He's having second thoughts. about the whole Derrick Henry thing. Didn't Edwards put up 13 touchdowns last year? He put up 13 touchdowns for this Ravens offense. And I'm not saying that he's better than Derrick Henry, but I am saying that it wasn't a glaring hole need at running back. Derrick Henry maximizes this offense, but at the same time, we did not run the ball in the AFC Championship. Now, when it comes to this, let's say this side of the ball, as far as the defense, I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of people hate me because I say this, whatever. I'm not a fan of Zach Orr. I'm just not. I feel like when it comes to discipline, having these guys ready, these are things that need to be ironed out in practice. And they shouldn't be fumbling around in the red zone trying to figure out, hey, this is what our formation should be, or who should be sliding over here at this particular moment. That should have been figured out. We should know that already. It looks like we're undisciplined when it comes to the red zone defense, and I've seen that multiple times on the field. As far as Stevens, they've just been trying him like crazy. They've been trying Stevens. Like you see everybody else on the field. They ain't trying Wiggins because Wiggins is on people like white on rice in a snowstorm. When it comes to Stevens, this dude, they just been trying. Like, remember how Kerry Williams used to get tried back in the day? Like, all the time. He was constantly being tried. Then he caught on. And I think this is kind of where we got to be patient with Stevens. This dude is going to turn the corner. He was one of the coldest in the league last year. And this year, he's just being tried more than everybody else because everybody else is getting locked down, and he's having to face the number one in and out each week, and it's getting taken advantage of. I think that when it comes to Tre'Davious White, just give him patience, give him grace. This dude just is recovering from an ACL and an Achilles injury, right?
Well, ACL November 2021, last year Achilles.
Yeah, so this is going to take a little bit of time. You know, we have that patience. He's 29 years old. I'm not saying that's young, but I'm not saying he over the hill yet. Let's work with him, see what he got, and, of course, have him come in to compete. I think that's what it's really about, is competition right now. If Brandon Stevens is still kind of giving up the cookies on his side of the field because he's getting tried too much, let's rotate him out and see what Tre'Davious White can offer. If he can offer something different, a different look, a higher level of competition to push this guy so that we can be better. I think Eric DeCosta is doing everything he can based on what the salary cap situation that happens to look like. Yeah, I know you can move money around or something like that, but he's trying to be responsible as far as cap management. Nobody wants to be out here like the Saints. The Saints have to sell things, pieces of their organization, and go negative in the cap every year because they irresponsible. They remind me of young people that just moved out the house taking payday loans all the time going into negative. That is the Saints. They need better financial management. They need a full-on class of financial management 101 because they take risk that are out there like crazy, and then those players are well past their time with the Saints, and they still making this money because they have to continue to do those rollover contracts. We don't want to be that organization, and I get it. You know, people be mad like, oh, well, you know, we ain't go after this dude. We ain't go after this dude. Where they end up at the end of the year, all those same players that we talk about, where did most time did they end up in the end of the year? Usually not in the AFC Championship, down the divisional round. They ain't there. What do you think?
Ryder, great stuff, dude. Appreciate the call. Safe travels. Thank you for your service, by the way.
All right, man. Thanks for your support. Appreciate it.
All right, absolutely. Asmodeus, talk to me. What you got? What you got, wingman? Great to see you.
Hey, Bobby. So I guess, you know, even before going into the trade talk, does Coach Ryder still do YouTube? Because I remember watching some of his videos last year, but I haven't seen the video from him for a while.
Let's go ask him. Couch? Oh, I just had him in. He just plugged out. All right, I didn't even know that. That's cool.
Yeah, I remember watching it. It wasn't the biggest channel, but it was definitely fun to watch. Pretty long live streams, honestly. You would do like a 2-hour live stream.
Does he serve, or did I just make that up based on his outfit?
Based on his outfit, it looks like he serves. As far as
completely make that up, well, regardless.
No, I think you made I think that was a correct assumption.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, with the trade, I would say, you know, I'm warming up a little bit more to it because I like the idea of. I thought about having Brandon Stevens go into safety. I think that he's struggling in cornerback position. Last year they were considering moving him into a safety position anyway. Okay, so he still do shows. Cool.
Oh, sorry. I'm just laughing at some comments right now.
They thought
just laughing.
That's funny.
Richard is not black. All right.
No, definitely not. I am Asian.
Oh God,
So
Asian, and he was persuading on Sunday, baby. Were you ever? That's my guy.
anytime.
Sorry. Continue.
No, you're good. You're good. So I mean, like, I'm starting to warm up to it. I think they can move someone to safety. Safety was something that was a glaring need as well. I think Marcus Peters showed better flashes last week, though. Versus the pass rush is starting to take a step back, and I started noticing this trend of the Ravens that the past couple years. You know, the prevailing philosophy, in my opinion, should be you build a team from the trenches outward. But what I've been noticing is that the Ravens have been building it from the outward towards the end, which I think is kind of backwards because if you think about it, if you're facing against a really good pass rush like a KC, like a Raiders, that's why we lose because then the pass catchers can't catch. There's no time. And so I think that was a big reason why we lost those 2 games. And then, flip it on the other side of the defense. You can't win pass coverage if you're covering for 6 or 7 seconds. I don't care if you have, I don't care if you have the Legion of Boom back there. If you didn't have a pass rush, you wouldn't do anything. There would just be a whole lot of looking, and then he'll eventually get somebody. And so, with that in mind, I mean, I think that a pass rusher I've been calling that since before the Browns game, actually. I forgot what the game was before that, but I've been calling it for a while because I remember watching and seeing. I'm counting on my watch. I'm like, how many seconds? And I'm like 4, 5, 6, and I'm like, that doesn't work. There's no way that you're going to be able to get an effective defense that way.
Exactly, and I think I'm seeing people dragging Brandon Stevens right now in the live chat. I just don't think that's warranted. We can talk about the technique and the ball awareness, right, and getting his head turned around and whatnot. But this dude is consistently, not only drawing some significant tough assignments, number ones, right, for weeks on end, but he's sticky. He's with you. He blankets you in coverage. I get it. The numbers did not look pretty last Sunday whatsoever. I think it wasn't it something like 8 receptions or, matter of fact, I have the numbers right here. Take a look at these.
It was 8 receptions for like 100+ yards. I remember that.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was for like 100+ yards.
Here it is.
But
8 targets, 5 receptions, 95 yards.
Okay, so that was 5 yards shy.
Coverage stats: 8 targets, 5 receptions, 95 yards for Stevens.
So I'm gonna go even a step back, and I think it was the Browns game where we're playing, and they missed all the interceptions. I don't 100% blame them for missing all those interceptions because part of the problem was they were covering for such a long time that they're not able to go ahead. They're not easily able to take their eyes off of the wide receiver who they're covering for eternity. Turn around, look at the quarterback, see where he's throwing, and then be able to make the catch. Last year, we had the luxury of doing that because we had a pass rush. So this year, I think a lot of pressure is being pushed on the back end because they're having to stick with guys for so long. That's why our interception numbers are down. And so I really, I know that they're saying Ojolari is going to be too expensive. Okay. But they had the Lions took Tre'Davious Smith for a 5th. You can't tell me that they can't get a 4th for him.
Which is huge, being that they lost Aiden. Hey, let's do some breaking news. You want to do some breaking news with me here,
Sure.
Chef? We'll get you in just a second here. It's nothing crazy. It's just the injury report. But being that it just came out, I want to get some fresh eyes on this with observations. Okay, here's the screen share feature. Let's do this. And Tuesday's injury report consists of, well, first and foremost, Lamar Jackson for a second consecutive week is on this list. He was a DNP today with a knee. Remember last week, he had back and knee designations, played on Sunday, and had a perfect passer rating. We all remember that. John Harbaugh did speak within the last hour or so, says that Lamar will play. Okay, but he is on this and only had 3 carries, right? 3 carries on Sunday. And so I don't get the sense that he's 100%. It's clearly not impacting him in the passing game, but he is banged up enough to be on an injury report for a second consecutive week. Outside of Lamar, Isaiah Likely trending towards potentially not being available on a short week. He has a hamstring. He's been a DNP all week long. Patrick McCary, full participant both days, shoulder. Keaton Mitchell, could this be the week that he gets activated off the PUP list? Full participant all week long thus far. Brent Urban, trending towards not being available, remains in concussion protocol for a second consecutive week. Hope you're doing okay, Brent. Tylen showed up with a foot. He's been limited, then full today. Broderick Washington with a knee, full all week, trending towards playing. Is Travis Jones? Okay, there's Travis. Travis is on this list. It's getting lengthy this time of year. So I was like, is he on here? Yes, he is. Ankle, limited. Remember, he was only available by emergency case, essentially, this past weekend against the Broncos. The week prior against Cleveland, he was hobbling around. I'm concerned about the interior part of this defensive line going into Thursday night. Adisa Isaac was a healthy scratch last week. Richard, now he's popped up with an illness. He was limited. Jalen Armour-Davis, limited all week with a knee. And Rasheen Ali, full participant with an ankle. He really just hasn't been available much throughout his rookie campaign. So that is your injury report. If you have any comments on that, go right ahead. If not, I'm going to go to the chef.
Yeah, I mean, I think I echo what your concerns are. This line is worrisome, but go ahead and switch over to the next person. It was great talking to you.
All right, always, brother. Appreciate you. Talk soon.
Yep.
Here's your injury report. Chef, any thoughts on that before we get yours on the trade acquisition or lack thereof?
I mean, mid-season injuries, people get banged up. It is what it is. I mean, I'd like to see the team healthy, all throughout the regular season to the playoffs, but that's not realistic. So as long as Lamar's not game day inactive or something like that, I'm fine.
Talk to me about why you really came here.
So I mean, in terms of the trade, I'm kind of in two courts. Actually, the first court's really my lady. She said that maybe that teams were seeing that the Ravens were desperate, seeing as we were ranked like 32nd defense. So maybe their asking price for us was just higher than what they would normally ask for. I get the Azeez Ojulari where, Giants are going to be the Giants. Their front office let Saquon walk out the door for free. So I get that. But where I stand in the camp where it's just like, okay, you can't get Azeez Ojulari because, you have standards. You're not going to be like, I'm not going to just sell all the house just to get this one guy. I get that. But you can't get Calais Campbell. You couldn't get something. I mean, it's nice to bring in Tre'Davious White, but it's part of the Ravens pattern. I mean, something about basically injured, almost 30-year-old veteran players, and they're just like, well, they're very savvy, da 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 da. But it's like, we need a dog in pass rush. So that's just where I stand on it. It's just lackluster.
Appreciate you, Chef. Thanks for the call, dude. I hope you're enjoying your mild night. I don't know why you have a winter hat on, but what are you gonna do?
Oh no, I'm just walking the dog.
All right,
no, it's kind of cold. I'm over in Virginia right now.
Oh yeah, did it cool off? It's supposed to be freaking 81 tomorrow, so maybe. Who the hell do I know? I've been streaming for almost an hour and a half, so I haven't been outside.
Bobby, you gotta get outside. You gotta get outside.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the call, dude.
Of course.
Talk soon. I want to do this. I'd like to reset things, and just in case you're just tuning in, catch everybody up to speed on what tonight's live stream has been about, what the Ravens did and didn't do prior to the deadline that was close to 2 hours ago, and where they go from here. And that starts right now. The Ravens earlier today, prior to the 2024 NFL trade deadline, picked up Tre'Davious White. The Rams sent their 29-year-old corner and a 2027 seventh rounder to the Ravens in exchange for a 2026 seventh rounder. Tre'Davious is a longtime Buffalo Bill. He's been a healthy scratch over the last month after requesting a trade out of Los Angeles. He is 13 months removed from an Achilles tear, and in November of 2021, he tore his ACL. The numbers over those 4 games for the Rams are not pretty. He played 133 coverage snaps in the beginning of the year. He was targeted 13 times. He gave up 9 catches for 151 yards and 4 touchdowns. He had 2 PBUs, no picks, 2 run stops, and no missed tackles. You hope that he'll be rejuvenated and give this Ravens secondary a shot in the arm. It's certainly not guaranteed in the slightest. There are things to like about him. Louis Riddick, former NFL player, ESPN analyst, hit on some of those, but I thought Dan Orlovsky hit on the most important piece to this puzzle, which was not filled. There is a void that remains unfilled in Baltimore after the trade deadline has passed. And I thought Dan Orlovsky, in the moment that this came to fruition, did a good job of hitting on that on NFL Live.
Has breaking news. Go ahead, Adam.
Oh, we have Tre'Davious White, the Rams cornerback, being traded to the Baltimore Ravens. It'll be Tre'Davious White and a 2027 7th-round pick going to Baltimore for a 2026 7th-round pick. So that tells you that Baltimore wanted to get him in, didn't have to give up much compensation. The Rams were happy to move on, and they get back a former Pro Bowl cornerback basically for free.
Yeah. Nice move. Are they trading for a pass rusher?
Yeah.
That's all I care about with Baltimore right now. Are they in the conversation for pass rushers or pass rusher or at all?
Not right now. We got
That's their issue.
39 minutes left.
Listen, coverage is fine, but they got to get to the quarterback way more than they have.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lou.
Look, Tre'Davious is one of those dudes. Think about where he was trained, okay? He was trained up in Buffalo by Sean McDermott. He's very, very adept at split safety quarters, half field coverages. He's a guy who can play a lot of two-man because he's real smart. Tre'Davious is one of the smartest corners in the NFL. He just got bit by the injury bug.
Yeah.
Tre'Davious wasn't the fastest guy when he came into the league. Then he has a major injury. So now you have to protect him a little bit. He isn't that island corner anymore. But look, I hate to use this word, but this is really like a testament to him. He's a great system fit in Baltimore, and he's a culture fit in Baltimore. How many times has John Harbaugh talked about, look, the most important thing that we have down here is culture? This isn't just about fantasy football, like as far as like moving guys around here.
Right.
I think in Baltimore, it's important you're the right person to come there in particular, especially how like all the strong personalities in that locker room. Trey White is one of the most professional dudes in the NFL, period. He's one of my favorite people. Wow. And I think it's a great move for them.
And I'm not disputing any of that. He's not an island corner anymore. Certainly sticks out. And of course not. This is a low risk, medium to high level reward type of move that Eric DeCosta and the Ravens front office just made. Similar to one they made last week, bringing in Deontay Johnson for pennies. Okay, here's why he's no longer an island corner anymore. Like I mentioned, he's just 13 months removed from an Achilles tear. Here's a photo from last year in early October. Okay, that forced him to be sidelined for the rest of the year. The injury history has not been kind to him either. If you go back to November of 2021, he suffered an ACL tear on Thanksgiving Day in a game against the Saints. So there's a reason why he's slowed down. There's a reason why he's no longer that guy that Lewis was once mentioning, was referring to. Can he be a fraction of that for the Ravens? He has a 17.2% career forced incompletion rate. That's the 4th highest rate among corners during that time period. But what have you done for me lately? And again, the numbers that answer that question are not pretty. 4 games for the Rams. Again, he has been a healthy scratch over the last month. Some of that was related to a trade request. Some of that may have been related to poor performance. 133 coverage snaps this year in Los Angeles. He was targeted 13 times. He gave up 9 catches for 151 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's not great. The Ravens are going to be betting on, at least from a depth perspective, that he will be rejuvenated in Baltimore's system, trying to compete for a championship and trying to give the Ravens secondary much needed depth. The monetary side of things is something that Brian McFarland, Ravens salary cap analyst, noted on X. He has $750,000 in salary and over $470,000 in per game roster bonuses left on his 1-year deal. So unless the Rams ate some of his salary, his cap number for the remainder of this season would be over $1.2 million, assuming he plays in each of the final games. That 1.2, though, however, would reduce by over 58,000 for any game he might be inactive for. Could be the case this week on a short turnaround, being that the Ravens play in 2 days on Thursday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals. The reality is, when it comes to Deontay Johnson, when it comes to Tre'Davious White, the two newest Ravens, there's nothing to criticize about these moves. It's not about what the Ravens did. It's about what the Ravens didn't do. And I'm not saying that it was for a lack of effort or for a lack of trying. There was reports out there within the last couple weeks that they were going after Tre'Davious Smith. But maybe the in-division nature of that would-be trade prevented it from happening. He ends up going to Detroit, fills a major void with Aiden Hutchinson being down. The Lions are playing better, as good a football as anybody around the league. But when you look at what the Ravens didn't accomplish from a pass rusher standpoint, that is what's so glaring about this missed mark. When you look at the pass rush win rate so far from the Ravens up front, they are 22nd league-wide at 37%. This same Ravens team is actually a top 5, statistically speaking, sack defense. They just don't get enough pressure consistently. They don't get to the quarterback consistently enough. And that's the harsh truth. Just look at the tape over the last several weeks, whether it be Bo Nix, whether it be Jameis Winston, whether it be Baker Mayfield. These quarterbacks had the luxury and the comfort levels of posting up in the pocket, surveying the field, and making comfortable decisions, not under any kind of urgency. You'll carve up any defense like that. And when you have that kind of time, it puts your secondary and your island corners, a.k.a. Brandon Stevens, in no man's land. That's the issue here. That's why today is a missed mark from a Ravens front office perspective. There were moves made all around the league, and the Ravens fell short. Here were a few of them. Marshawn Lattimore goes to Washington, a big defensive piece for the Commanders. Of course, Devontae Adams, now weeks ago, ends up with the Jets. DeAndre Hopkins goes to Kansas City, had a big impact in last night's win over Tampa Bay. Amari Cooper went to Buffalo. Deontay Johnson became a Raven, of course. Mike Williams just today was sent to Pittsburgh from the New York Jets, a wide receiver. They also picked up a pass rusher in Preston Smith, who will be a rotational guy for the Steelers. Tre'Davious Smith, as I mentioned, becomes a Lion. Khalil Davis goes to San Francisco. Dallas gets Jonathan Mingo. The Josh Uche one is hard, right? That's one that you wish maybe the Ravens would have taken a flyer on. From New England, now to Kansas City. More pass rush arsenal for Andy Reid and company in Kansas City as they attempt to three-peat. And you can go on and on and on here in terms of some of the players that came off the board with these trade acquisitions. The Ravens missed the mark. This is a rare miss from the front office. My intention is not to come across as negative Nancy whatsoever. The facts are the facts. We have a 9-game sample size, guys, when it comes to what this defense is and what this defense isn't. We can talk about Zach Orr all we want. We can talk about the schematics all we want. We can talk about the personnel that are no longer there all we want, both players and coaches. The fact of the matter is they do not consistently bring pressure and put opposing quarterbacks in stressful situations. It's going to rear its ugly head, and most importantly, it's going to put the Ravens offense in a position where the margin for error is so thin, I don't know if that's sustainable. I don't know if that's something that you can win a Super Bowl on. I have question marks on whether or not that is realistic to expect. Kyle Van Noy is 33 and playing some of his better football the last 2 years. But over the last month, he's been quiet. He's been held at bay. They're chipping him. They're double teaming him. Same thing with Justin Madubuike. The Ravens' defensive front doesn't scare you. And it's banged up right now as well. Michael Pierce, the big nose tackle in the middle, big run stuffer specialist. He's down for the next month, at least, on injured reserve. Brent Urban is banged up and on the older side with a concussion protocol. Who else am I missing? Travis Jones with his ankle. He's been hobbling around. He was only available last weekend on an emergency case basis. The weekend prior, when he watched the tape in Cleveland, he wasn't himself. When he's 100%, don't get me wrong, the dude's a force to be reckoned with. And I hope that he can kind of get himself right with treatment in season to make himself available. The Ravens need him up front. This number 1 ranked rushing defense will be tested. And they are down right now. So much so they had to go and call up Chris Wormley and Josh Tupou from the practice squad to be available for them. And there's a drop-off last weekend. Doesn't show necessarily in the final score, being that they just trounced the Broncos, led by MV3 and the King. But again, my biggest concern coming off this deadline is, do the Ravens have what it takes defensively on a day potentially in January where the Ravens offense doesn't put up 30 in its sleep? Do they have the defense to go win them a ball game? And that, to me right now, is a big question mark. Moneybag's been holding. We'll open up the guest lines a bit. Appreciate you guys for being with me here tonight. Coming up on hour 2 of this show. I had no plans of doing this, but here we are. What's going on, dude? Welcome in.
Hey, what's up, Bobby?
How you?
I'm good. I just want to touch on what Taz said earlier when I was in the chat listening in.
My man went off earlier.
It really is the interior. It's not the edge. It's the interior. And I'm gonna go even more in depth. When you watch the game against Baker Mayfield, Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, the edges are getting home. It's when the quarterback steps up in the pocket, it's soft. There's nothing there pushing him back. And that's where the problem is. As far as Tre'Davious White, I feel like he I don't think he can. I don't have much faith in him. I want him to. We're hoping that he's going to be some form of what he used to be a year or 2 ago, maybe. And then
somebody's upset back there.
Yeah, she's slipped. And then we have Brandon Stevens, man, he's on the other side. He's getting cooked. But again, I know you pointed out earlier that he's getting these tough assignments, but at the same time, you've put yourself on this high horse last year with your play, and now they're expecting, the front office, they're expecting you to continue to push that ceiling up, and so far he just hasn't. I'm a diehard Ravens fan. Been a Ravens fan since I was about 3 or 4 years old. But this year, defense wins championships. Defense, and that is a staple that's going to forever be cemented in this league.
But see, that's what I was just trying to get at, right? Like, come January, if this number 1 offense has an average day or an off day, God forbid, or just a pedestrian-like day and doesn't put up 30 in its sleep, is the other side of the ball going to be able to hold serve? And through 9-game sample sizes, the answer to that is no.
And the big sample size we got of that was last week against the Browns.
Exactly.
The defense, that was our prime example of, can our defense go out there and finish this game?
What are your
No.
thoughts on this from Kyle? Kyle Van Noy, just within the last hour, tweeted out that folks are not watching the games, and it shows mob on Thursday and Saturday night this week. We have since deciphered that, or at least there's a collective agreement, I think, within the chat that mob just means come on out to the bank on Thursday. And then I believe BYU plays on Saturday. So assuming that we're deciphering that correctly, and you're of the belief that it is more about the interior defensive line than it is
Right.
the exterior, meaning the edge where Kyle would be, I wonder if this, I mean, he's clearly, KVN would never do this, but you just kind of wonder, by him saying folks aren't watching the games, everybody's talking about the edge presence or lack thereof right now. Could he potentially be referring to, hey guys, we don't have an issue on the outside. We have an issue on the inside. Again, KVN is the consummate professional. I don't believe that that's what he's saying whatsoever. But you just wonder, in the back of his mind, is he thinking that?
Yeah, I think he is. I believe he is. He knows, the players know, they know where the issues really lie, when it all boils down to it. And I'm not sure what he means by this tweet though. I don't know where he was going with that one.
He would
But
never, let me just be clear. He would never obviously call out teammates. He builds everybody up. He's a 2-time champion. He's a veteran presence in this locker room. But clearly, to your point, which I think is a wise one, and some of this is related to the injuries right now. It's just there's a few guys that are aging in the interior part of that defensive line.
yeah,
That's an area of weakness right now, despite being the top ranked defense rushing wise. So from a
and
push and pressure standpoint, right? You can be good against the run and be getting very little pressure at the same time.
right.
So let's make sure we differentiate the two.
And I know you got some more guys that want to get on, so I just want to make one more point. Where's the there's who's the voice in this locker room?
Well, they got voices.
I mean, like, who's that? Look, this is it. We can't, that who's drawing the line in the sand is what I mean. Who's in that locker room drawing the line in the sand and says, this is it. We're not doing this no more. Like, I played football all my life. The only way that guys really reach their full potential, you gotta be called out. My teammates have to call you out. Hey man, we need you.
I think quickly in year 3, Kyle Hamilton does that, but he doesn't do it through the media.
Yeah.
He did a little bit of it within the last few days during his availability, making it really clear. First of all, I love how he and Marlon were like, look, we didn't feel like we should have won that game the first time around against Cincinnati. Love the fact that they said that. They got lucky on the road in Cincinnati a few weeks back. And they've also made no excuses, those two guys. And the way that Marlon came out and not only backed Zach Orr, whether you like that or not, the way that he's held this defense accountable from an execution or lack thereof standpoint, and himself, even though he's having a back to a Pro Bowl caliber kind of Marlon Humphrey that we're used to's kind of season, that tells me that they do have voices in that locker room. They do have the tone setter in Roquan. They do have one of the longest tenured Ravens in Marlon Humphrey, right? They do have a young and up-and-coming potential future defensive player of the year who's selfless, humble, and a unicorn in Kyle Hamilton, right? They do have a 2-time championship pedigree edge rusher in Kyle Van Noy, who is on the back 9 of his career, but is still having an impact, right? They do have those voices on the defensive side of the ball. But I get it. It's fair to question it because of the fact that there really hasn't been incremental improvement. You can call Sunday against the Broncos, incremental improvement, but it's still 300+ yards allowed. So how far can we really get there? That would be my thought on that.
And I was just gonna say, what from and your honest opinion, how far do Lamar, Zay, and Derrick Henry take us in the playoffs?
Right. With the way this defense is playing right now,
Yeah,
AFC Championship. You don't get past there.
yeah. That's and I honestly, I mean, even though we beat Josh Allen, but right now as it stands, they're leading their division. Pittsburgh is leading their division. Pittsburgh is technically, I guess we're tied, or we might be leading because we got a division game over them or so.
Who?
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, well, I don't know. The Ravens have 3 AFC losses, so
We got 3 losses. I thought we lost to the Browns.
they got 3 AFC losses. Yeah.
Oh, the rate. Oh, the rate. Okay, so we got 3 AFC conference losses.
Conference. Yeah.
Okay.
Now
So
the Pittsburgh obviously in the loss column right now has the upper hand at 6-2 coming off the bye.
okay.
But don't they play Washington on Sunday? I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Pittsburgh plays Washington.
Yep.
That's not gonna be an easy. They just got freaking Marshawn Lattimore.
Is that in Washington? Is that in DC or is that in Pittsburgh?
Let's see. Let's see what's going on. You calling from Baltimore, by the way?
I'm in Maryland. Yeah, I'm on the
That's
Eastern
in
Shore.
Landover. That's in Landover.
Okay. All right.
Steelers and Commanders are at FedEx Field.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be tough for the Steelers. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Russell, he gonna struggle. Definitely gonna struggle. Cause
We'll see though, boy. He's been airing it out with Pickens, man. Oh.
Yeah, but you can't Lattimore is one of those twitchy. He's like I don't want to compare him to Zay, but he's just a twitchy corner. Like he's not, he turns his head. He does all the little stuff right, is what I mean.
Well, think about this too. Lattimore, you talk about being rejuvenated and a shot in the arm. You're going from purgatory in New Orleans,
first place in the division,
to straight up first place in the division, and you got the front runner for Rookie of the Year. And damn it, he keeps playing like this. He's going to get MVP votes, not on Lamar's watch, the actual award. But Jaden is so far ahead of what most rookies typically come in with. He's just got this savviness to him that Commanders got their guy.
Yeah. I'm it's happy to see, like I said, I'm from Maryland. I'm glad to see like the DMV sports. Just not one team.
They paid for him too. They gave up quite a bit. New Orleans is getting a 3rd rounder, a 4th rounder, and a 6th back from the John Ridgeway trade. Are you shitting me? And the Commanders are getting Lattimore and a Saints 5th. So they went out and got their guy. I mean, there was a report out there the Ravens were sniffing around on him, but you know how DeCosta goes. He ain't giving up that kind of draft compensation. It's just not.
What was that about? Three draft picks?
Yeah, he's not doing that. And then the Steelers, by the way, they got Mike Williams, wide receiver. They also brought in sort of a rotational veteran pass rusher and Preston Smith from Green Bay. Again, Mike Williams is also going to Pittsburgh. What else? Tre'Davious is Detroit bound. A 2026 7th, and Zedarius going to Detroit for a 2025 5th and a 2026 6th. There may have been an issue there in terms of the in-division nature of that would-be trade.
That would have been
Yeah.
That would have been a needle mover. I don't mean to cut you off. That would have been the one that Baltimore. I would have had no more doubts about that. That would have shored up the secondary. That would have shored up the interior, because he would have drew so much attention that Matabike would have had a lot of one-on-ones. And then of course, you got Owe and Van Noy on the edges, and they would have definitely got home. So yeah, he would have answered a lot of he would have shut a lot of noise up.
I think there were two potential acquisitions over the last 24 hours that would have been needle moving. This one right here in Zedarius, and I might go Lattimore. Those two right there, While corner continues to be, in my mind, not the biggest need on this team. I think those would be the biggest needle movers. Tre'Davious and Lattimore. But hey, coulda, shoulda, woulda. The
What was
Ravens
this?
obviously do what they did. And
What
now
was
you
the
move forward.
situation with Jeffrey Simmons in
Everybody
Tennessee?
keeps asking about that. I don't know why. Why do people keep bringing him up?
He's a dog.
Oh, I know he's a dog, but I
I
just
think
don't
he.
feel like he's a cornerstone piece for Tennessee. They already got rid of DeAndre. You know, the last thing I think about when I think of Simmons is that Marshall Yanda's last game ever as a Raven. I'm sitting in the locker room, and I kid you not, this guy did not mince words, and with complete, utter seriousness on his face, told reporters that Simmons spat in his face. I'll never forget it.
Man.
Never forget it. But I mean, is it water under the bridge for a guy like Jeffrey Simmons based on the type of play? Would the Ravens be like looking over that? I don't know, but
Yeah.
anyway,
He's leading. I think he. Last time I checked, maybe I think before the last game, he's leading the NFL in interior sacks.
Is he? Oh, he's a beast.
That thing got like five or six.
Guy's a problem. There's no question. So, hey, appreciate the call, dude. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bobby.
Talk soon. Get to some super chat donations before we jump here. Can't remember the last time I've done 2 straight hours of streaming. Captain Hard says, Super L, I hope that Denver game didn't give EDC false hope. Asmodeus says, can we get Fletcher Cox? I'm seeing him as a free agent. Has he retired or is he active still? Fletcher is 33. First rounder from 2012. I guess he played for Philly up until last year. He spent his entire career there, but is he officially retired or no? Somebody check that for me. And we're fully caught up with Super Chat donations. I appreciate you guys for being with me. As always, fun time. Thanks to Primary Residential Mortgage for sponsoring the show. If you want to donate to the program, you can do so through Venmo, Cash App, or the YouTube Super Chat feature. And as always, like the video if you enjoyed the content. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. And you guys were awesome tonight. We got a lot of new faces and names in the channel, and I love that. So please continue to call in, continue to support, continue to comment. Sarah and I will be back with you to get our thoughts on this in full tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern, for a Ravens lunch hour live stream. And I look forward to having Jay Morrison, Bengals beat reporter, on the show for his Cincinnati perspective. Alan wants to know how the FaceTime date went. I did cover it in detail on today's lunch hour live stream. We went 90 minutes. So on top of this 2-hour stream, it's been a long day of streaming. Yeah, no, I think Madison's cool. I think Madison and I are going to continue to chat and maybe think about getting something on the calendar for a visit. I don't know. We FaceTimed for over an hour. I think she's got a vibrant, fun personality. She's the youngest of 5, which is cool. I'm a big family guy. Her 4 siblings are all boys, are all brothers, which is kind of hilarious. And as you guys know, or at least some of you know, I'm the oldest of 4, a sister and 2 brothers. So I love that. Got some other things in common just from a political standpoint and athletics and fitness and other things. So it's super, super early, but hey, it's always fun when something pops up like this, and I'm open to the idea, So, Holly, I didn't know you were from a big family as well. That's cool. Yamil wants to know what happened to the Ella Kid City girl. Who was that? Oh, I know who you're talking about. I don't want to say her name. I really liked her. She was cool, but it wasn't the right fit. It wasn't the right fit for me. So anyway, now you guys are just going off. The Holly wants to know about Devin. You guys are hysterical. All right, people. Let's see what happens on election night. I'm never one to push people to do certain things, but I will tell you that walking out of the polling center today in Canton, something patriotic about casting a vote. So if you haven't already done so, consider doing it, because I don't know, I'm like walking out of there blasting like Toby Keith and Lee Greenwood and just loving life. Love this country. Don't always love what this country stands for in certain social circles. And I think a lot of you guys know where I am politically. I know the lunch break hot take crew certainly knows where I stand politically. But there is something super patriotic, super fulfilling about casting a vote. I don't know why. The volunteers were great. Just imagine volunteering all day long to oversee hundreds and thousands of people that come through to cast a vote. Like, there's something just patriotic about that. So, anyway, enjoy the rest of Election Day. Enjoy the rest of your week. And it's going to be a short one because we have to turn a page and start looking at the Bengals in depth tomorrow, which we will. Taz, you're the man. I see you in the live chat. Come to a tailgate one day, brother. Would love to have you. And with that, thank you guys for being here. Like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. And as always, thanks for humoring me with a number of different things that we covered throughout the last hour and 51 minutes. Talk to you guys soon. Later.